Hey peeps, welcome back to a special continuation of our previous episode. We talked so much we had to split it up. So if you haven't listened to the previous, go ahead and check that out. If you're all caught up, then you may proceed.
Justin, what do you got for us?
I have a little bit of a subject matter.
Subject
yes.
matter.
Does it matter?
Don't time it.
I was just checking to see what time it was, and it's 9:05.
All right. So
6.
one of the last episode, the BPT year, not the year in review, but the Lonnie's topic.
Did you bring every fruit?
It's like a fucking koala over here.
He's got some berries, some elderberries. I'll take one top one.
Elderberries.
Like the squirrels.
If you missed this, we skip your topic.
One time go.
Hey!
Got it.
I just deep throat. I just swallowed a blackberry.
There it is.
Okay, on with your topic. What do we got?
So,
Yeah,
Lonnie,
what's
you
up?
just
So
saw
his
something.
topic isn't going to suck because it's technically a continuation of mine. Yeah.
Sort of. So you asked us some questions as far as like what actually helped us or had been pretty much gave us some sort of leverage up on 2022. And so there's this thing called a weekly review that I've been more focused on or more implementing, using pretty much every single week, trying to go back and reassess what I have done and what needs to be done. And it has allowed me to excel forward very much more beneficial. Explaining this starting off is rough. So
You're telling me.
well, before cutting into anything new, like a new project or a topic or a partnership, would you agree that it is probably best to go in sharp? So like if you're going to chop down a tree, the best thing you're going to do is like sharpen that blade instead of taking all that time trying to cut it down with a blade that's kind of been used before. It's like you got to keep on reviewing yourself and making your mind sharp.
Okay.
I mean, it's beneficial to know what you're getting yourself into. Yeah.
Yeah, and they say, what was, I think it was like Abraham Lincoln or George Washington talking about how like if you had like 2 hours to cut down a tree, you're going to spend more time sharpening it than you are going to chop it down.
Were you prepared for this?
Yes. Having a sharp knife gives you like the most ultimate preparation. So a weekly review, most importantly, allows me to keep sharp and current. That's one of the more important things is the staying current on things. There's a lot of people who just let things slide through the cracks and they don't go back and check things. And it's like I've always said, like journaling for me is something that that has been important to me, has been a part of my person.
Did you get this idea from the Mighty Misfit Kings last week?
No.
Oh, okay.
That's the first time you ever pronounced their name correctly.
No, they all do. I don't. The Mighty Bosstones. Mighty Morphin Bosstones.
They had a great last episode. If
They did.
anyone's
I enjoyed their
listening,
episode.
I do have to.
Oh, they were talking about the goals and stuff?
Yeah.
That's something I've actually explained that a few times on here, like smart goals and stuff.
I do have to tell them though they need to stay in their own lane.
I know.
I do a good job of staying white, so they need to stay away from being white. If they're gonna talk about goth and being emo, they need to stay in their own lane. Leave that to the weird.
You want to just tell them to
white kids.
You want them to drink from their own fountain, is what you're saying?
Yeah,
that's fucked.
You stay in the
up.
athletic giant. Yeah.
Wow.
You leave the depressed.
I am glad John won that last game.
You leave the depressed emo kids stuff to me, and you stick to all the
stop it.
You stick to all the fancy talk. You leave the depressive white emo kid stuff to me.
What is that What is that supposed to mean?
It's trying to bring it back. Record scratch.
rap?
Let's what?
That was all just a bunch. That was a bunch of horribleness for me saying you leave all the emo white witchcraft stuff to me.
All right.
And if you guys seen the socks he's wearing, he is 1,000% white.
They're pugs, and one is inside out. I just realized.
What
Just
a
like
dummy.
Bill Cosby. Anyways.
So a weekly review, most importantly, allows me to keep sharp and current. So things that I consider are like my relationships with my family, what I want to achieve with my wife, what I want to instill with my daughters, books I want to read.
With your wife. With your wife.
We actually just bought like a tantric sex, and my wife was like just laughing about a lot of the stuff that it's like we got to like 5 of the positions reading it. And like 3 of them are the same position. It's just like the woman's legs are like bent or crossed. Like these, you cheated. This is not this.
Right.
Yeah.
They kind of like, shit, we said 40. We've only got 38. Cross
Probably
your
even
legs
less
on
than
one
that.
of them.
Yeah.
Point
Put
your-
one leg up.
Stretch your toes.
Recognize your tribal chief.
Yeah. Oh, and they call it a yoni. It's like,
They call it a Lonnie?
send your energy into her yoni. A yoni is another name for a vagina.
Is
Really?
energy
Your genitals.
semen?
Your name's almost like a vagina.
Damn right it is.
Or
His is a
famous flutist.
A lo-
Isn't it yoni?
Flautist.
Alani.
Flautist.
Alani is a stretched out pussy.
Go on.
No, these are tight.
Only when I hit
Natural.
my late 20s and my metabolism stopped.
So yeah, books I want to read, projects I want to accomplish. If something else takes precedence, I can move a project onto a less important list, or at least move it to a date that allows me time to reconsider the project or whatever it is, the task. I write down all of my ideas. So if I can't develop it yet, maybe I can create a collection of ideas until something sort of writes itself. And that was one thing I was talking to, well, both of you guys, Lonnie and Jeremy. You guys have made mention of like, just start writing all this stuff and then you just threw it all away. I'm like, why? Save it. You can still pull from that. Use that as a reference point. It's like you can put it somewhere else. Just don't toss it. That's still your work. It's still art and it might actually stem into something.
I got it all up here.
That's what you say, but you don't. The more you remember
You
it,
calling me stupid?
I kind of am. You kind of are.
Yeah.
Well, if you put it like that.
Yeah, no, Lonnie's topic, the segment 7 of BPT 047, I was talking about a weekly review. That's what this is, which is just one part of a managing system called GTD. That's getting things done. GTD is getting things done. Weekly review is probably the staple, the cornerstone of what GTD is. GTD is a system, and then the weekly review allows that to stay current and clear and creative, which is 3 words that also defines the system. So there is, and going back to what you just said, is like you have it all up here, and he's pointing to his brain and his mind and his head.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was pointing to my hair
Oh,
and my hat. I keep a note up here.
oh, there it is. He's got it.
Zingo.
So the creator of GTD, Getting Things Done, David Allen, not David Allen Greer, David Allen, he says something like your brain is for having ideas, not storing them, or creating ideas, not storing them. And I 100% back that. It's like, yeah,
Say it again.
your brain is for creating ideas.
Having ideas, not storing them. Okay.
Yes.
Got it.
So, I mean, like, we can't necessarily remember. And there's so many studies about, like, psychology, the brain, the how things network, association, all that. We can probably keep track of maybe 7 things if we're focused enough or more engaged. Like, every time we have to switch off to do something, our focus is always distracted here and there. Like, anytime you have a notification, if you're focused on one thing, trying to collect 2 things together, the notification takes the full attention away. Multitasking isn't necessarily a good thing, although some people claim that they're good at it. It's like, no, you're good at like switching back and forth because that's what you do with your attention. You've never really, I mean, you got to manage your attention some way.
I think that's one of my biggest problems.
Multitasking?
I try to multitask with all these ideas, which is why I'm trying to make a change in my life so I can concentrate on 1, maybe 2 things at a time instead of like 5.
Yeah, that's also kind of like the thing with GTD is like when I know that I have things in my trusted system, I don't have to worry about it. Because so many times we think about like the same thing over and over again. It's like we're wasting time and energy and even effort sometimes continuing to have that thought. It's like just write it down. Put it into your, what I call when I like my journal or my GTD system.
Your diary.
Yeah, it's not a diary.
But what about and devil's advocate? I'm just it's my nature to question cognitive thought. What about someone in a situation like myself who almost 24 hours a day has to distract their brain?
Well, the mind can be changed, so you can build habits or whatever to try to
But
extend the focus.
What about someone who can't change their brain?
I would say you would still go on to that if you continue to like think that way. I know there's medical issues and stuff some people have that do stop them, but there's so many people who do have a similar. Well,
I know I'm a unique scenario, but and for those of you who don't know why I'm saying this is I have obsessive compulsive disorder and mine's mostly on the obsessive side. So my brain is always having intrusive thoughts. So I've gotten very good at multitasking, distracting my brain and doing other things at the same time. And so I'm on that fence where I've gotten really good at double and triple tasking. So, and back to the point, just asking you in that scenario, like how does someone like myself, how does that benefit me?
It allows you to be a little bit more productive. That's kind of one of the things too. And I think me and you've, well, I think I've even talked about it on the podcast too. Some of the people that I followed that I've really like look up to as far as productivity experts do have like ADHD, maybe a scale of autism or something like that, where it's like, wow, fuck, man, I wish I can, like, you look like you have everything down. Not you, Lonnie, you're fucked up.
Right.
Yeah, but
Appreciate it. Thanks, bro.
no, and it's I don't know, when you see like their system and stuff, it's like, fuck, man, I wish my life was organized as that. But I mean, like mine is to an extent, and
Right.
it's the thing I like about writing things down is like you don't have to like stick entirely with that. You can change it and modify it to your own liking. GTD has a system, but you work it the way that you want to work it. So like when I say a weekly review, I do mine weekly review every week. Some people do theirs like every 5 days. Some people only need to do it like 20 days out or so.
Right.
It's like it not so much happens in their life that they need to have a bird's eye view on everything. But yeah, I think having some sort of practice or discipline or trying to hold yourself to that will help in many fields here. So not only do I just like jot down my ideas, I also jot down like my fears. And when you're distracted or have to have something like that can possibly be fears, and you can try to work those out. And that's basic journaling. That's not necessarily like weekly review or GTD, but it kind of helps each other out. Makes things much more easier. So do I always meet my goals? No. And I think that's also a good thing, because what I like about not meeting my goals is now I have data. Now I can see what didn't work and what did work. I can go back and change things up and implement things that will hold me to my task. Pretty much I can try to implement ways to correct them. If it's important or relevant to my long-term goals, or if it's not anymore, I can just get rid of it. So obviously anybody who has listened to us for an extended period of time would know that I am a mailman.
Poor bastards.
Yes. I'm also an actor, a filmmaker, podcaster, husband, father. I got many roles, and having a system to capture and organize these roles keeps me on top of my game. But what I am saying is this can pretty much work for anybody. So if you have debilitating factors, having something to track and keep your mind focused on something else, most people, I don't want to say most guys at least, are very visual. Like they like to see their ideas. So having some place where you can put it and a trusted source. So if it's a journal or if it's online or something like that. I also did make mention that I converted everything from one note-taking system to another. I'm practically digital these days, but I do still carry a journal around with me. But any type of...
Does it have a little lock and key on it?
It's the one that's got the
doesn't.
purple flowers on it.
It's got it's got a
With the
combination
unicorn?
on it.
Yep.
It's a three combination.
Sorry, I derailed your thought.
I know.
I'm good at that.
You're talking about GTD Vice City.
No, I've said many times that a lot of our issues today are because we live in a fast-paced world. People want things immediately, and so we are jumping from one thing to another without realizing our reasons and whys. Life becomes chaos, messy, disorganized. A system is designed to bring order, mental clarity, and stress-free by allowing you to focus on tasks. What is your, and this is kind of one of the things that I've been very curious about is people's processes, because I think I kind of put this back to either like a Da Vinci or Leonardo, I was about to say DiCaprio, Leonardo da Vinci or a Bruce Lee like mentality. Bruce Lee is more like take what works and discard what doesn't.
Mm-hmm.
You know, be like water, always be moving and flowing, and use something as a formless, form without form. But yeah, our focus these days, when we're confined to like sound bites and small little videos here and there, focus is fleeting. Like we're not getting any better at focusing long term on things. So, and I also use like meditation or some sort of meditation practice here and there, not necessarily like sitting in like the natural like Buddhists and all that, but you can find many things to kind of help guide your mind. But yeah, no, like your process. Can you give me a brief example of what your process is when you do organization? One thing I've always kind of commended you for is how organized you are, especially when we do projects. I feel like you have that down a lot better than a lot of local people when it comes to directing, at least.
Yeah, shit all over those logos.
I've said this before. I'm a big pen to paper type of person. I'm not one that types on my phone and something or whatever. I feel it's a more intimate process when you're writing stuff down. But I like to break up things. Like if we're going to talk about making a movie, after the script is done and everything like that, I will make a separate list of all the characters. I'll make a separate list of all the scenes and stuff like that. I make lists. And then inside those lists, I break it down into subcategories, like for each location, what scenes are going to be filmed there and stuff like that. So I make a lot of lists, as you can see on the walls in here, sticky notes.
You at home can't see. But
yes, yes. But there's like sticky notes. But to me, it's as you said, like men are kind of more visual. I am 1000% visual. Yes, I do have a lot of things. My mind's always going, and I store a lot of stuff up here. But the stuff that's stored in my head is just kind of put there for a rainy day. When I'm working on something that's of the now, it's on paper somewhere in front of me. If you saw, I have like totes full of notebooks at home because every time I have
I'll say you've always been a notebook kind of guy.
Every time I have a different idea for a project or something like that, I buy a new notebook. It could be like a 1,000-page notebook, and I only use
20 pages.
Yeah, 20 pages of it for a project. Instead of like starting a new project, I have to get another notebook. Like just today, I went and got a notebook for things on my personal life of what I'm going to start trying to do and stuff. And not a journal or a diary or anything like that. But
John.
Just a step below it. So
yeah. So I haven't really discussed what this is, but I want to give a like more brief description. So the brain is a fascinating tool. I'm sure we all can say we had a really good idea at the wrong time. Like if you're in a shower or while driving, during a conversation, during a movie, people pick up their
what's
phone.
about the shower thing?
Having an idea.
Oh.
Yeah. You have like striking thoughts when you're in the shower. You're like, fuck, that's a good idea.
Strike something.
Or conversations. Or what you should have said during an argument.
But like we can't always trust that idea will remain. Like we're always thinking of other things, and usually we think in association. So if like once we get out of the shower or something like that, it's like, oh shit, I got to do that real quick. Fuck, what was that idea? That was awesome. I should have wrote that down.
This may be weird, but I've noticed lately, and maybe it's not weird, maybe other people do this, but when I'm peeing, when I'm urinating,
Nice.
that's when a lot of good ideas like hit me all of a sudden, or like an answer to a problem I've been having, like all of a sudden just and it's like I find that out a lot lately. Like it's when I'm urinating that
Your
happens.
back
When you're
teeth are
holding
floating.
your dick.
No, I don't hold it. I just
Wiggle.
let it go.
Yeah, me too.
Piss excellence.
But yeah, no.
I wake up and I piss.
I've
Excellent.
I've noticed that for a little while now, and I was like, is there something to that? And I figured, Justin, you'd be the one that would have known if like
I've
There's
never touched your penis.
liar.
Maybe it gives off certain aromas
Usually asparagus,
Engaging all the senses.
to.
Mine's
I don't know.
garlic.
pine.
I mean, I guess what else you got to think about while you're urinating?
We don't really think linear, and GTD, getting things done. It kind of allows me to have a self-managing system that I can capture these ideas, or notifications, deadlines, just keep on track with others, etc. For an example, in my case, I have to make 3 pickups before the beginning of the month. Luckily, I can batch 2 of those because 2 of those businesses are right next to each other. If I have an idea on the way, like something to get while I'm out and about, an idea for a movie, I have a capturing tool to do so, either like my phone or a journal that I have on me. So I would need to process it later. The main thing is getting it down, capturing it, and then process it later, add more to it. So after I get my cut from these businesses, I can jot it down, time, amount, and date. And now I only have to worry about that other one. And they know what will happen if they don't pay up. So you can use any task or project. Say you have to cook a meal for some friends. You have to plan the date, the food, maybe clean up a bit. The date is easily scheduled depending on how many people.
Right.
You can create a recipe list or items to pick up, manage your hosting space. Potentially, the recipe list can be archived to a recipe list for reference at a future date as well. But ultimately, GTD is about managing your time, your projects, and your lists. I like how you were talking about how you make lists of everything. And one of the biggest things that kind of like really changed my process way back when was like indexing things. It's like, oh shit, like I can easily find this. And that was when I was more paper-based. And digitally, it's an easy search these days. So getting things done, or GTD, it consists of 5 main steps. There's the capture, the clarify, the organize, the reflect, and the engage. And I will...
He's digging through a bag.
I will pass these out for you guys.
Oh god, we got flashcards.
Here, take one and pass it around.
We got to label parts of the vagina.
Not today.
It's a flow chart.
It's a flow chart. I came prepared. Class is in session. I I want to run through these steps in more detail.
These are fucking laminated.
They are laminated.
Do we get to keep these?
You can keep that. You can put that on your person. Well, it's going to cut you if it's too close up, but yeah. No, but I want to go more in detail with these and the methods of applications on maybe how I probably use these. So
this is how your mind works
yes,
when you watch a movie. Got it.
it's like, fuck. All right. So the first one, I'll go through like the chart here. So you start, you find your stuff, whatever it is, you capture it. What is it? Is it actionable? Can you do something with it? You otherwise trash it, put it in a someday maybe list or a reference list. If it is actionable, what is the next action? Always try to break it. Well, you don't have to always, but if you need it to kind of find out what you need. And I was talking about how like making small wins has really helped my motivation for the year last year. Breaking it down to smaller tasks definitely helps that. So if it has to be on mini tasks, you build a project out of it. Then you kind of like repeat. If it takes less than 2 minutes, which is they call the 2-minute rule, do it now. Otherwise, you can defer it, have somebody else do it, put it in your next, or schedule it for a later date, or delegate it.
Delegating.
Boom. So capture. Notion is
Crazy how like this is really easy to follow and understand. I saw all this and I'm like, ew, boy.
It looks daunting as like a graph, but it's actually very easy. So anytime you find or something that might be halting your productivity, you're like, fuck, where am I on this? Just do that. So like I said, Notion is a digital system I rely on mostly, yet I still carry a journal with me. Most everything I do or track is digital, so having a digital tracker is the best for me. Plus it is fully customizable, just like GTD. Notion and journal are my inboxes. Have a designated inbox for yourself. Where do you store your mail? Where do you store all your ideas? So I have idea banks on here that all funnel into like certain areas. So anything that's with my Boundless PodTrap, it's all in a Boundless PodTrap list. I have like my bits bank, every topics I kind of want to discuss, other ideas. Yeah. So you can't really change what you don't track. So paper or digital based system where everything can come into one place. This was an issue with me starting off when it came to like the capture, because when you're doing one of the steps on the back, you have like your capture, clarify, organize, reflect, and engage. Don't do the other steps when you're focusing on just one. When you have the capture, just get all those ideas out. Or if you have like lists or stubs or something that you need to track, put it on something that you can manage. So build your inbox for the most part. Try not to process it just yet, or else you're going to move off. That's declaring a inbox. There is a level of unconscious resistance we have about any number of facets in our lives, such as, I don't need this, or I'll remember that later. Kind of how you were saying, it's all up here. It's like, at least put it down somewhere. At least have it. That way you can review it. Going back to the weekly review, it's like, when I get back to the weekly review, can I do something with this yet? Is this on like someday maybe or waiting list? And then proceed from there. So pretty much anything that has your attention, that's anything. If it's occupying your mind, if something is bothering you, put it down. Even if, like I said, if it's a fear or something, put that down, because you need to diagnose that or find out what's the root of that eventually. That's more like the journaling base, but I implement GTD with that. There is this concept that we waste so much time continuously thinking about it. I kind of already said something like that, but you're wasting your mental bandwidth. Like you only have so much energy and so much time per day that having the same thought over and over doesn't help you much, especially when you're trying to get things done. So my system is literally my second brain. More ideas come in and it's always growing, and I can connect some of these ideas later. So when I'm building like an episode or an idea for something like that, it's like, fuck, this connects to this connects to this connects to this. Fuck, all those go together. I have a concrete topic, and here we go. So declare your inbox. Make sure you capture all your tasks, ideas, appointments, events you may want to attend, things you want to buy, movies you want to see, albums you want to organize, anything that will occupy your brain. The trick is not to waste so much time thinking about the same thing. If you continuously have this idea, write the bitch down. Next step, clarify. What exactly is it? Add some sort of context to it. Decide if it's actionable and if it has a next action. Sometimes my Uncle Frankie will call me up because he might need an outside person for a gardening job. I can keep track of the tools I might need and if I need to get a rental car. So,
hey, Jeremy, what's a tool Hacksaw Jim Duggan would use?
Don't.
I'm not gonna do it.
This is a serious topic. Yeah. So also, let's see it out. There it is. Also, an important part of the clarification process is declaring your why. So again, if you're having
Your
like a
wife?
fear, your why.
Oh,
Like, why do I want to do this? Because sometimes people will slack on things if they don't have a strong enough why.
Right.
If they're not,
your wife is very strong.
She's all right.
Strong. I didn't.
Very strong.
I didn't know Colombian women could be that strong.
Not
She's
Colombian.
Nicaraguan.
Not Nicaraguan. Nah, Nicaraguan. Not Cuban.
Cuban.
Yeah.
Anyway.
So why do you want to do this, especially if it's a project? Reiterate. Any action that has more than 2 actions is a project. With the weekly review, it's like, it's easy for me since I've already ingrained this habit pretty much all year. Now it's kind of like a part of my life. And now I can go back and just like, oh, okay, staying current and clear on things. So create a habit of always asking yourself, what is my next action? Here you can add more clarification, archive it, trash it, or put it on one of your list, like a someday maybe list, wish list, which I make those the same in my system. Next step, organize. Figure out where it needs to go. If you clarify its priority or urgency, you can put it on a calendar. If you keep a series of lists, you can allocate it where this item needs to go. So some things that you can batch things like, okay, I have a series of calls I need to make. Might as well just put it in my call list. Like I need to call the plumber. I need to call the dentist. I need to call this. Get them all out of the way. Because like once I finish it.
What project are you working on? A plumber and a dentist?
I got some contacts. So for example, I have a wish list for items I may want to buy. It allows me to see like more competitive prices. Like if, this new soundboard, this one has this one and this one has this one. I bring it all into my list and it's like, okay, this is the prices. This is whatever. I can narrow it down that way.
I still don't know how to operate it.
It's right there. I turned it on. But yeah, they'll sometimes sit in my list until I either have enough money or even if it's no longer relevant. So currently tomorrow, I am going to be buying a new bone saw for a gardening plants.
Bone saw.
Beat me to it.
Thank you. Another example. Just today, I dropped my youngest off at daycare and was heading back home and noticed that there's like a little construction site going up around where her daycare is. And there's a site that just kind of broke dirt. So they got about a week or, they'll make their measurements and then they'll start pouring the concrete. I write that down. So
What?
He writes it down so he knows he might have to detour to take his daughter. Right? Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, we'll go with that.
yes, we'll say yes.
Is that what?
Yep. So
I know you've only been on the podcast for a short amount of time. This is where Justin's informational topic goes to the humorous part of the topic.
What?
Where now he's injecting that he's gonna put a hit on someone.
that's not where
And this is where the bodies are coming. Because if you didn't notice, we talked about the
we got to
bone
edit some of this
saw.
out. You can't.
Now we're talking about burying bodies.
No, it's gardening.
Flow, bitches.
This is all about gardening. All right. Anyways, I'm trying to keep on top.
Sorry.
Of it.
That's a flow chart just like his.
There's still bloodstains on it. So some organizing spaces would be like a calendar to keep you on track, or a list like a someday maybe list, a next actions list, a reference folder, a waiting on list, such as if you loaned out money or waiting on a call, projects list, things you want to eventually do or accomplish. So our 4th step is reflect. The next step, this is where I implement the weekly review. This is the more important part, the checking back on things. My catch-all for my catch-all, but it can kind of sort of constitute any sort of consideration. If it's on my mind, I try to capture it. If it's important to link it to a project or a task or two, I do it. This is the powerful tool that organizes your life and gets you clear and current, which are 2 of the 3 cornerstones of this system, clear, current, creative. I talked about that earlier. Anyways, doing an overview of your agenda, next actions, current projects, waiting on, someday maybe, this takes the stress off your life and allows you to have time and focus on the things you love. Once it's off my mind,
Using your bone saw.
I mean, like, if you're with your wife or whatever, and it's like, or your child, like you don't have that stuff occupying your brain when you're with them. You can focus on this, and you don't got to worry about any of that other stuff. Again, spending time with my family is important, and being present with all of these other things on my mind is even, or without these other things is even better. For example, when my Uncle Frankie,
Unky.
sorry,
Unky
Forgive me.
Frankie. Uppy.
when my Uncle Frankie, when he calls me to head back upstate, like when I have to go upstate and do some, replant some shrubs because of, we'll say the heat can be a bit of a pressure. I don't have to worry. I can plan accordingly. I can get to sleep early so I can wake in the middle of the night and handle the gardening job.
Yeah,
Thank you.
for the shrubs.
Yeah, because the heat, it's better to plant them when there's less heat on them.
Because a shrub is a shrub who can't get no loving from me.
Yeah. No.
Shrub is a guy.
All right. So we recently.
Yeah, no scrubs.
No shrubs.
My Uncle Frankie and some of the family, we recently had a sit down not too long ago about some family things. For example, he's been under pressure because his garden seems to have a rat in it and ruining the whole thing of ours. But I had dates and times of certain favors owed and paid and did the exterminating job for him so that I'm currently up on favors myself. This is part of the whole reflection part of the GTD system, because when we had this conversation and he's like, you owe me, I'm like, no, I'll do one for you. I'll get rid of this rat for you. And I handled that for him. So now I'm one up on a favor. Hence the weekly review. That can save your ass sometimes.
Very nice.
It allows me to regularly review these tasks and these lists that nothing falls through the cracks. I make sure I have done what I wanted or needed to do. Otherwise, move it to the next week and review that or what is coming on down the pike. That way, I'm as prepared as I can be, sharpening my own sword. All right, so the last thing is engage.
Kill switch.
Nope. Getting all the plans and details in order and one thing by no
Alibis.
See, if you didn't waste a whole bunch of time and you just did funny shit like this and gave us flowcharts,
This works, man.
3/4 of this we wouldn't need.
I don't know
You
what you're
just
talking
did
about.
the funny parts and the fucking flowcharts. We could get to bed by 11.
Funny
have
parts
our
in the
McDonald's.
flowcharts.
Damn it.
Either
One second.
Funny parts and
Use the
flowcharts.
So getting all the plans and details in order is one thing, but no progress is actually made unless you commit to your work and actually do the damn thing. So you have to engage. With the engaging step, there's a 2-minute rule, as I explained earlier. So like if you have to take out the trash, just do it right now. If clothes
do
are on
it
the floor,
right
just
now.
pick them up right now.
Take those
Just do it right
rats
now.
out.
So say, for example, if one of these weeds is interfering with your territory, meaning like affecting your harvest.
Your
Yeah.
plant
So
flow.
I can just get out of my car, pull it right there, and be out of there before anybody knows anything. Getting rid of the weed in your garden helps your whole garden flourish. So going back to like the gardening terms there.
Flourish? Or
Yeah.
Flourish.
Flourish. Flourish.
I really want to watch The Departed now.
We gonna have a problem here? All right. So some people review their inboxes every day. Like some people are like strict on like getting to zero or inbox zero as they call it. It's like you don't have to. At least do it on the weekly review. So if like you have things coming in, even email, kind of the same situation. I at least make sure everything is organized or has some context to it upon my weekly review. I go through it then and make sure it's all settled. That way it's easy peasy. So the more context you add to something, the easier it will fit in your schedule. So if you have an article to read that may take 15 minutes, but it's important or it isn't important, you can have a time or even energy context associated with it. So you can search by the context when you have free time to give it. So like if you're standing in line, it's like, fuck, it's gonna be like 15 minutes here. I'll just read this article. It says I have like 15 minutes because I usually when I save like an article, I save like the time amounted reading, whatever with it as well. So the more info on the context, ask yourself how much time do you got or how important some task is. This is the 4 criteria model. So add an out or errand or home context, add a time available or time it may take to complete the task, like the previous example, the energy it may take, such as watching a movie for a podcast and needing the focus or something that doesn't require mental bandwidth, like cleaning a gardening shovel. One of the more important signifiers is the priority context. I organize everything on its importance and date first. Does it need to be done now? And is there a deadline? Those are usually the most important things. I try to keep my commitments to other people first. So, because, I can always flack on myself, but I try not to. I try to hold myself accountable.
I flacked myself earlier.
Yeah. So I'll echo that the GTD system allows you to get clear, get current, and get creative. Your brain isn't made for holding ideas. It's made for having them. Write the shit down and it will save your life. Trust me.
As much shit as I gave you, it's a pretty creative system.
There you go.
I do gotta admit.
You guys can keep these laminated.
I'm gonna.
Thank
Shit.
you, Justin.
It's laminated.
Come on. Come on.
For those of you at home, since this is not a visual podcast, Jeremy threw it in the trash.
No, one of the things that I think was very helpful, especially with GTD, there's like a whole
The
community.
colors. Oh, sorry.
The colors
Lonnie.
helped me out a lot.
Fuck.
It's like, yeah. The whole community is like, it's a really good community. They
Why
really
is
help each
stuff
other out.
Black. It's like
Is this
stuff.
something that you came up with, or is this like a literal like
GTD is an actual thing.
Is it? Okay.
Yes.
So did you
I-
make this or did you steal it from someplace?
I printed it off and laminated it for you guys. And I cut it out.
I've
Make sure
lost.
these-
I lost respect for you. I
Make sure
thought
these sharp edges
you
are
created
there.
this whole thing.
Yes. Well, I mean, I sort of created it. Saved file. There's so many like graphs like this, and I did front and back for you guys, so you ain't wasting paper. And you can put this in your inbox, and then when you come across your weekly review at the end of the week, you can look at it and be like, oh, and you can decide if you'll probably.
I like how the steps
Jerk off. Oh,
I like how the steps spell core.
what? What?
Core. Capture, clarify, organize, reflect, engage. Core.
That's it.
Turn it over.
C-core.
Well, I think it's super cool.
Coca-Cola.
Super useful, so thank you.
Yeah. No. Fuck. There was another thing I was gonna say about that.
Easy.
Cat car.
It's C-core.
Core.
It's like I said. It saved my ass a few times. So there we go.
If you guys would like a copy of this chart,
Please email us at.
Wait, there was a question that you asked.
he has several questions.
So did the authorities.
What are you talking about? This is
Just
a very
saying.
wholesome topic.
Just saying.
It's see what I was talking about
Why
there.
did you engage him? He stopped talking.
It was for.
He asked him about questions.
It was importance if it was time relevant. It's like if I know.
I really
Were you
want to
talking
watch
about
The
the-
Departed now.
Were you talking about the concrete thing?
Yeah. Like I said, are you like? Do you have to change your route now?
I don't have to.
Oh,
That's time relevant.
where's this located?
And if it's a priority, because I do some gardening
Speak
jobs. here and
clearly
there.
into the mic, please.
I-
Where is this located?
Why you gotta break my balls?
That podcast do anything for you? Well, that's not all. Stay tuned next week for the continuation of this episode, or whenever these things come out. Later.